What I did on vacation, October of 2015. First of all, I'm a teacher. I teach high school 12th graders mechanics in a co-op environment. As I was about to take a week's vacation in October, my students wanted to know what I was going to do. Now they know that I'm a deer hunter, but only bow season is in. And being I'm not a bow hunter, they knew that I was probably not going to go deer hunting. So to show you what I did, I need to introduce you first to my family, and then I can explain why I did what I did. This is my darling wife, Faye, and as my students know, she's deceased. She's been gone about 5 years now, but she did give me 3 wonderful children, and one, the baby, is named Tracy. This is my daughter Tracy. This picture I think was taken about '06, but anyway, with her is 2 of my 3 grandsons, her oldest and youngest, Jacob and Riley. She was married for 10 years, and when Riley was 3 months old, her husband, which works for the government, went TDY to Kuwait. And while he was there, he met this young lady from California and fell madly in love with her, he says, and divorced my wife and left his 3 kids. That's right, he's a piece of work. Anyway, this is my oldest grandson, Jacob. This was his final year in high school. He went to Welborn, and he's now attending Jacksonville State University. This is the oldest on the left again, Jacob, and my middle grandson, Nathan. Nathan's bald-headed, has been since he's about 2 years old. He has a disease they call alopecia. What that is his immune system thinks that hair is a disease and trying to attack his body. So his immune system attacks the hair and kills it. Now his doctor said that he would probably grow out of that, but seeing how he's now 16 years old, I don't think he's going to grow out of it. I believe he's always going to be bald-headed. But anyhow, that's my middle grandson, Nathan. He plays football at Welborn. This is my daughter's baby, my smallest grandson, Riley. He gets by with murder, usually, because my daughter was wore out by the time he got here. She had done been through 2 boys, and when you got 3 boys, they're a mess. And it's a lot of fun, but it's also a very big challenge. Here we are all together at my house this past Easter. Now this little story started off about 4 or 5 years ago, I guess. Someone gave Tracy 6 chickens. On her property there's an old house that's not livable, but it does have a 4-foot chain link fence covering a small backyard. And so she put the chickens in that chain link fence, and she cut a hole in the utility room for the house to make a place the chickens could get in out of the rain, lay their eggs, this, that, and the other. Okay, and she was talking to me about building a chicken house. I should have took her more seriously, but I didn't. And she called me one day, and my middle son, Nathan, middle grandson, Nathan, the bald-headed one, had went out to check on the eggs, and he come running in the house and told his mama that there's a big snake out there. She calls me, I grab my 3-inch Magnum 12 gauge and my 9mm, and I go running over there. I only live like 200 yards from them. And so I get there, and there's a plastic kid swimming pool turned upside down, and he says he thinks the snake went under there. My daughter takes a long stick and flips it over, and there he is. It's a timber rattler, about 4.5 foot long, and across his head is about 3.5, 4 inches. If that snake had bit that boy, he'd have never made it to the emergency room. He'd have been dead. So therefore, I decided it was time to build her a chicken house. so that my grandsons wouldn't have to deal with snakes up there in them weeds. So I hurriedly built her one. I laid 5 hollow blocks, one in the middle, one on each corner, and I built her a 8x8 chicken house. And I told her then that later on I would build her a proper chicken house off the ground. I've always felt that a man is only as good as his word. So on this week of vacation, that's exactly what I have attempted to do. I wanted to build her a proper chicken house, meaning I wanted it to be at least 24 inches off the ground. That accomplishes 2 major things. Number one, it gets the chicken house up away from predators and pests like snakes and rats that can get inside the chicken house. It also gives the chickens a place they can run under should they be scared of a hawk flying over or something of that nature. Also, it gives the chickens a place where they can dig and take their little dirt baths. They love to do that. And if they got a chicken house to get underneath, it's never wet there. It's always dry. So it's a perfect place for them to have their baths. So as you can see in the pictures you've seen, I started with 3 treated 4x4s. And I dug a hole, cemented them in, put the wood on, and started on the east side. Then I did the outside. The chicken house is going to be 8 foot wide, 12 foot long. So this picture here shows me doing the center post at the end of the 12 foot. And the only thing I like is the center post. I've got all of the outside posts done and cemented into the ground. But now I'm digging holes to put the center post in there. Now I've got all my posts cemented into the ground, and I can build the framework for my joists for underneath the floor. My kids probably didn't know I could do things of this nature, but when I was in my 20s, I used to work for a construction crew, and we used to build new homes. It's called Kellum Construction Company. So yes, I am quite capable of building most anything I want to. The main thing now is energy, because I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and anytime I take a challenge like this on, I can only work so long and so hard because my body will only let me do so much. So now my joists and my supports are in, and I'm ready to actually lay the floor itself. Now everything I've laid so far is all treated, and the plywood that I'm going to use in the subfloor is also treated. I wanted to make sure that I know it'll last longer than I will, but I wanted to make sure that this chicken house lasts as long as my daughter lives. So I'm trying to do a good job building it, making it quality. As you can see, the ground does slope some here. The east side, which is the right hand side as you look at this picture, is 24 inches off the ground there, and by the time it travels 12 foot, the west side, which is the left side of the picture, is somewhere in the neighborhood of about 3 foot off the ground there. In this picture, I've got the front wall built. As you can see, I've got a personnel door on the right. You can probably make out where the 2 windows is going to be. There is a open vent above those 2 windows, and if you look on the left hand side toward the bottom, you'll see where the chicken door is going to be. I'm doing all of this by myself, students, because everyone is either at school or at work. So yes, I'm doing this all completely by myself, which is not the first time I've had to do something like that. Now in this picture, I've got the back wall built, but I've just got it leaning against the foundation. I haven't got it up there yet. I think in this picture I'm taking a Gatorade break. several days this week it got pretty hot, so I went through a pretty good bit of Gatorade, at least one a day, sometimes 2 or 3 a day. Okay, now I've got all 4 walls up, and I've got them nailed, got everything level, everything's in the bubble, and now I'm putting the cap on the walls. For you students that don't know what that is, once you get the walls level and square, you cap them, which means you run a piece of board. If you look at the top of that wall, there is another 2x4 going across there, and what it's doing is linking both the 2 walls together. It's all makes it one piece. It makes it much stronger. But the cap is what I'm doing right now. Now I'm starting to put the plywood on the outer walls, also called sheathing, if you want to get technical. And when you're doing this by yourself, let me tell you, it's a lot of fun. And I'm sure the students won't know how I did it by myself, because it is heavy. And I had to have guides. What I done is cut me some pieces of 2x4. I put them at the top. I put them at the side. And I slid the plywood up. Well, I measured and cut it so it'd be the right length. Then I slid it into place against my blocks. And of course I'd have a block on the bottom too. And I'd take it and lift it up over that block and let it actually rest on that block at the bottom. Then slide it to the side against the other blocks and at the top. And so it would be in place. Then I'd take my drill and screws and I would nail it. By the way, this chicken house has no nails whatsoever in it. Everything is screws. That way it will not come apart. It would take a direct hit from a tornado or something to tear this baby apart. Now the steps I've already built too. I had enough for 3 steps. It's going to be 4 steps, but I got a piece at home I'm going to cut for the bottom step. But I got tired of having to crawl up in there to do something, and I just went ahead and did the steps there at the personnel door. So that's technically done too, except for the bottom step, which I'll get to. Okay, now I've got 2 sheets of plywood on the east wall. I've got 2 out of the 3 sheets of plywood on the north wall. And I decided to go ahead and start on my top, because in case it was to rain or something, it would protect the wood. Now I'm using 12-foot 2x4s for the rafters, and I'm using 12-foot 10 on top. Now the problem with that is I'm not going to put plywood on top of this, so therefore I've got to do it as I go. In other words, I got to lay my rafters, then I got to lay my tin, and I've got to bolt my tin to it, because you cannot walk on this tin once you get it bolted on there unless you've got plywood underneath it to support it, and I'm not going to go to that expense. So I've got to do it in 24-inch sections as I go, which is the width of the tin. And or you know, where that you can bolt it down. It's actually a little bit more than 24 inches, but 24-inch sections is how I'm going to do it. And so I'm going to first of all have one out over where the chicken box is going to be, or the nesting box. So I'm going to try to have a 2-foot overhang front, back, and sides as I go. So here I am. I've got the top done, and I don't have the rest of the sheathing or outer side done yet. That's going to be next. But this is at the end of the day, and I am about pooped, and I'm sitting on the step, and my grandson Riley just gets off the bus, and he comes up and he sees the camera, and so he takes a picture of me there. But yeah, he likes to he don't get home till like 3:30 or so, but I think he gets out of school at 3, but he rides the bus. But anyway, he likes to at least talk to me every day when he gets home. If not, help Papa out a little bit here and there. And which I'm always grateful for the help that he can give me. Okay, this is the end of the next day. And seemed like it might be Jacob that got home from Jack State and took this picture as I was resting a minute before I went home. But anyway, I've got the sheathing or the outer wall up all the way around, As you can see, it's going to be a personnel door right there where I'm sitting at. And now you can see where the chicken door is going to be, where they will enter and exit the chicken house on the left front there. And then at the end, it's going to be where the clean-out doors are at. I'm going to make 2 clean-out doors there where you will not have access from the outside of the chicken house. For security reasons, you'll have to open it from the inside. But when you get ready to clean the chicken house out, you just open those 2 doors, and you can just rake or sweep the whole entire house out, use a hose pipe on it if you want to, whatever needs to be done to clean it out. Here's where my 2 clean out doors is going to be. I haven't built them yet, but I think it's 4 foot. It's going to be. I left a 4 foot by 4 foot opening there for 2 clean out doors. By the way, the back walls and the side walls are both 6 foot high, where the front walls are 7 foot high. That gives me a 1-inch drop to get the water off the top like it needs to be. It also gives me an opportunity to use the side areas there as vents, which I'm going to do. Going to put a screen up there and use those as vents. Okay, now I've made my personnel door and installed it. Now what I did here, I'm not going to go buy a $200 door to go in a chicken house. And I'm not going to spend no $50 on rubber and stuff to seal up a door to keep water out of that. So what I do is I just use the redneck method, meaning that I take a piece of plywood and I make sure it's larger than the opening for the door. Then I take 1x4s and put around the outer edge and across the middle to support that plywood good and make a door out of it. Then I take 1x4s and put along beside the door to actually hinge the door to, and to have the locking mechanism on the other side attached to it. But doing it that way is very cheap. You don't have to worry about getting water on the inside because the door covers the opening on all 4 sides, and rain cannot get in there. It serves a purpose in every single way. Okay, here you can see that I've got the 2 clean out doors built, and I've got it hinged. I just don't have plywood on the outside of it. But you can probably see the middle there, and you can see I've got plywood, not plywood, 2x4s attached to them. And that's the way I'm going to lock them. It's going to be a 6 foot long 2x4 going across there to lock both doors together. Sort of like, if you'll remember the old movies in the West where they would have one big board or something going across and locking the 4 doors together. Same principle, just on a much smaller basis. But yeah, they can only be open from the inside of the chicken house, and that's for security. Although the outside of these doors is going to be into the chicken run, so it should still be secure, because it's going to be covered in every way, including the top, with wire, so nothing can get in there. But the way I've got it made is just extra security. Nothing can get in from the outside. They must be open from the inside. Here is the chicken enter and exit door. It's 12 inches wide and 15 inches high. And I've got 2 hooks. I'm going to tie a little rope between the 2 hooks, and it's going to have a little ring on it. From there, a rope will be attached, and it goes straight up. And I've got hooks there leading over to where that my daughter will not actually have to come into the chicken pen to open or close that door. She can do it from outside of the chicken house. But of course, now the door will most likely stay open during the summertime. But during the winter time, especially when it gets down to freezing, she'll want to shut the door to keep the wind, as much wind as possible, away from the chickens, and also it keeps them secure. if a predator was to actually break into the fence, they still couldn't get to the chickens themselves, because they'd still have to figure out a way to enter the chicken house in order to get to the chickens. So anyway, the door is going to be manual. She's going to be able to access it from the outside of the pen. That'll make it much, much easier on her. Now, with all this bad weather hitting Mexico and whatever, it's been cloudy. It hasn't rained yet, but it has acted like that it wanted to several times, and so I decided I needed to get some paint on this thing, so that in case it does rain, it would protect wood. So I went ahead and I cut out my 4 windows, and I went ahead and painted the chicken house so it didn't be protected from the rain and elements. Now I took hardware cloth, which is wire, by the way, and put across. First of all, I installed all 4 windows. Then I took hardware cloth. This is on the north side, which is going to be, half of it is going to be out of the chicken pen, half in. But I installed hardware cloth on that one window and took 1x4s and put around it. The hardware cloth actually runs underneath the 1x4 so that predators can't pry that open. Now it has a little screen on that window, but it's not going to keep anything out except flies. So that's why I put hardware cloth in there. That way possums, coons, whatever predators might want to get in, they're not going in through the hardware cloth. But I run out of material, and so this was at the end of the day. I've got to go to Lowe's and get more wood so that I can do the other windows. Now I'm also putting trim on the corners. I'm taking 1x4s and taking 2 pieces, and I'm blocking the corner. And I'm using that for trim. It makes it look good, but the real reason is for security. Like a big varmint, like a bear, and she does live on the side of Coldwater Mountain. But a black bear or a coyote or a wolf or even a big dog could gnaw on the corner of that chicken house, and with determination could loosen up or crack the plywood enough to gain entrance. And everything, as you know, loves chickens. So I fixed that by using it as trim and as security so that nothing can get in those corners. Now this is another day when I run out of outside material, and about the only thing I had left was the hardware cloth, the wire. So I had to make another run to Lowe's, but before I did that, I went ahead and installed hardware cloth in the vent on the east side, which this vent here will actually be open. It will not be inside the chicken run. It will be to the outside. So it has to be very secure, because the first possum that comes along is most likely going to climb up that chicken house to that wire to see if there's any way that he can get in and eat him a chicken. So hardware cloth is definitely in order at this point. Now this is the front vent, and it is going to be inside the chicken run. So I could have just used regular chicken wire on it if I wanted to, but I used hardware cloth there again. It just makes it more secure. And as I said before, everything loves to eat chicken. Anything that breathes loves to eat chicken. So we don't want to get our chickens eat up. So we make them secure any way that we can. So again, I used hardware cloth there. Here you can see the corner trim that I was talking about before, where I actually overlapped the corners and screwed all that together so that they can't pry away any of the corners to try to gain access to the chicken pen. So now I put the trim around the windows on the front, which is the south side of the chicken house. Now I did not use hardware cloth on them, because that is going to be inside the run, so I shouldn't have any problem with it. However, if I change my mind, I can always pull that trim back off and put hardware cloth over it and then put the trim back on. That's not a problem. And also, as you can see, I finally did get the final step, the first step put down. I did find a piece over at the house. It was an old board. Had a little bit of termite damage in it, but I don't think the chickens will mind at all. So I made that bottom step out of that. Now I've also got the chain link fence post holes dug, and the poles in it and cemented in, so you can see there where the chain link fence is going to go. Now the way I'm going to work that is I'm going to run 6 foot of chain link fence. It's going to be 7 foot high. It's going to be a foot between the bottom of the chain link fence and the ground. I'm going to dig a trench, put hardware cloth 6 inches down into the trench, and I'm going to wire it to the chain link fence. Then I'll pour cement in there and put water in it, and that'll make it secure. That'll also keep the chickens from sticking their head through the chain link fence trying to eat grass on the outside, which they will do, and a possum come by and just chop their head off, and they don't know that. Now here's where the back fence is going to come up to the chicken house. Everything to the left hand side of that pole is going to be outside the the chain link fence or the run. Everything to the right hand side is going to be inside. And of course I will have to put wood up there and run wire, but the entire chicken pen will be covered with 2-inch chicken wire to prevent hawks. Like I say, we live on the side of Coldwater Mountains. It's full of red-tailed hawks as well as other types of hawks, and they patrol on a daily basis and love chickens. Now this end, which is the east end, is where the nesting box is going to be. It's going to be 8 nesting boxes there. And my daughter will not have to actually go into the chicken pen to get the eggs. That's why I'm doing it that way. But at the moment, I have not built that. I'll save that for a later date. I just got done what I could during this week that I've been off. About worked myself to death. Having a look inside of the chicken house, you can see right there where the nesting box is going to be. I think it's I think I made a 8 foot wide, 8 foot wide, 15 inches high. But it's going to have 8 nesting boxes there, and like I say, I'll get to that probably next weekend or the weekend after that. I'm not sure. Thanks for watching, my YouTube friends. Now, students, you know what I did on my vacation. Next question is, did you put out as much effort with your substitute teacher as I did building that chicken house? Now, I hope that the answer to that is yes. And I'm not through with it. I will make another movie and post on YouTube after it's all done and said with a run and everything else. Thanks for watching, and God bless.